Hey, welcome everybody to another Rock Writers Ramble podcast. My guest today is the great Floor Jansen. Floor, how are you?
Hey, thank you. Very good.
Of course, Floor has an incredibly cool new project coming out this October. It's a band. I was wondering myself that, Floor, do you consider Northward an actual band, or is it more of a project at this point?
It's a project. Yeah, absolutely. I have a band. That's Nightwish. That's plenty. I would not be able to have a band next to it. But this is a project. Yes. So.
Right. Well, listening to this record, it's a very, very diverse array of musical styles. I don't think anyone familiar with your past work will be disappointed.
Thank you.
My question is, Floor, when you first put this project together with Jorn, I believe this was actually born out of a jam session you guys had back in 2007. Is that correct?
Yes, partially. I already had this idea in my head that I would like to make a rock album. In the year 2008, that I was going to get off from my band at the time, After Forever. We planned this sabbatical year, and I thought it would be great to expand the horizon a bit with a different style of music, as I've been doing metal for over 10 years at the time. So when I met Jorn Viggo and heard him play, his diversity was clear all at once, and it was indeed they called it an all-star jam. It was basically playing covers from a lot of different in a lot of different styles. So that really showed his and my versatility. And when I also learned that he used to play and write for Jorn Lande, a Norwegian rock singer whom I really, really love, I was like, he could maybe be that guy I could make this rock album with. And so I introduced that idea to him, and he was like, well, there's only one way to find out, so let's plan a session and see if there's any chemistry there. And fortunately, there was.
Yeah, absolutely. It really shows through on this record. And, listening to it again, it's just very fresh, very vibrant, very modern sounding. It could easily fit in anywhere on modern rock radio, for example. What was the best part of putting this record together for you? Was it being able to sort of stretch out musically, or what was that like?
Yeah, one of the highlights for sure, because I've never felt bound by anything. I've always felt like I need to be able to do what I want within my bands, which I did in my After Forever at the time, while learning and developing, which I did in Revamp later, even more experimental with vocals. Just I tried everything there was, just to see if I could do it and to see if it would sound good and how it would feel like to implement everything. And also now in Nightwish, I really use basically everything I have into making the songs coming alive. And sometimes maybe this rocky vibe comes out a split of a second here and there, but hey, it comes out and it colors, or even more, of course, in other songs. But whatever the songs demand, and it was really cool that in this project the diversity indeed within the songs was there, to also within the style of rock. Give it my best to experiment, to vary, and the same for Jorn Viggo, who's virtuoso. Really, he picks up the guitar and whatever he plays sounds good. Some people just have that, and to really tap into the energy of a song to see what it demands. Songs kind of speaks for themselves in that sense. That's very, very inspiring, very cool to bring to life. And in my case, it was actually cool that it took 10 years in between writing and recording it, because back then it was this idea, this sidestep for me, this feeling that it would be great to do more with rock because I like it and it feels like something I could do more, but never really did yet. And so when I actually started doing it, it still felt pretty new. But 10 years in, 10 years in, it felt like, this is way more a part of me, way more integrated into who I am as as a vocalist, as a musician, as a person. So I think I did a better job now than I could have done 10 years ago. Yeah.
Uh, no, I was curious too. What was it like going through the writing process with some of this material? Because, like we covered, you really were able to stretch out quite a bit. Was it sort of
Yeah.
a very cathartic process in a way to kind of whittle down these tunes to what became on the album?
Yeah, it's definitely a puzzle. Where all the pieces need to be made and see if they fit together into one picture without trying to want to feel restricted. Um, so we listened to a lot of different kinds of rock, basically. Stuff that I already listened to, stuff that Jorn Viggo already listened to, and he listened to a lot of stuff that I had never even heard of. From the most from famous classic rock acts to really obscure weird stuff, but whatever had something in it that could inspire, we took it in and put it on. Yeah, it gets into your system, and it's some level subconscious, I would say, comes out one way or the other, and made that puzzle become a picture.
Right. It's really cool too listening to the tracks. If anybody is familiar with Jorn from Pagan's Mind, he really is quite a rock guitar player. He's got some great
Yeah.
riffs in there, some great licks,
Mm-hmm.
and he really is able to really convey these songs through what he's doing on guitar.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's one of the best guitar players I've ever met, really, and I guess I've been around. He's yeah, definitely someone who should be way more out there, way more known. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we do have to mention one of my favorite tracks on this is Drifting Islands, which of course features your sister Irene. And I know you've worked
Mhm.
a good bit with her in the past on different projects. And what is it like working with your sister on any sort of musical project?
It's always fun, and it's always nice to connect with each other on a different level. Um, as sisters, as family now, especially since we're both mothers, music brings out a whole different energy, and um, we've actually been doing live stuff always. So we always come together in a live situation, and a lot of people actually have been asking for us to do a studio recording as well. So when this song was up for determining who's going to be that other singer, because Drifting Islands is surely going to be a duet. It's like it obviously is going to be Irene, because it's on my bucket list. It's on a lot of people's wish list, and I think in this song our voices will just be really, really cool together. And Jorn Viggo and my sister Irene, they agreed. So yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you mentioned motherhood, Floor, I was curious. Since you've become a mother, has music changed at all for you? I mean, is it more fun in some instances, or I mean, does it mean more, or has it opened your eyes to anything, or has it changed at all basically since you've become a mother?
I think anybody who's become a parent, mother or father, things change. You start to see almost everything a bit different, and you put everything in the scale again. Everything looks differently, feels differently. So I would say yes, and to really pinpoint things would become almost too personal, but it definitely changes things. And when it comes to music, I can't say that much has changed, because my love for music was already completely unconditional, and it still is. And the thought of being able to share my music, or any music for that matter, with her is something to really look forward to. I mean, she's a year and a half now, and already you can tell that she loves music. And she's singing with,
Oh, that's great.
for how a 1.5-year-old sings. It's so fantastic. That is music, yeah, at a whole new level.
Sure. No, that's great to hear. But I know it's hard a lot of times for an artist to answer a question like this. But is there any track on this Northward record that really means anything to you as far as just being a great song to sing? Is there anything that has some sort of special meaning?
Yeah, actually, there are quite a few with a more personal touch. But the one that sticks out the most is the one that I actually lyrically rewrote, and the only one I did rewrite, and that's the last track on the album, Northward, because that kind of tells the story of me going north, because it's quite literal in that sense for me. I went north from the Netherlands up to Norway to write this project, from the Netherlands up to Finland to join Nightwish, and to eventually also move there to meet my Swedish husband and end up in Sweden. So for anyone who has a sense of geography of Europe, the Netherlands is south of all of that, and so I went north.
Oh, okay.
And of course, it's not a geographical story in that song, but my journey up here, and I have found my happiness here. So that's a very, very personal and happy song. Actually, I'm not the songwriter of the most happy, happy, joy, joy kind of lyrics, but there's a very happy message behind all of that melancholy.
Sure. I'm curious too, what kind of a lyric writer are you, Floor? Do you get just sparked by an idea every now and then, or are you the kind of person that actually sits down to actually compose lyrics? What's that like?
Mm. I think it goes a bit in stages. I always write the lyric after the song. Because I want to fit the words entirely to the vocal melodies. And so what usually happens in the process of writing is that I have songs in whatever stage they might be, but they start to form a certain feeling, and they start to get ideas for lyrics. I would like to write about this, or I would like to write about that. I get inspired by this or that. So they start to form basic ideas in my head, and they might land together. And so once those things start to combine, I sit down and I work on it, and then I can usually write a whole lyric pretty fast, because the thinking and feeling part has already been taking place in stages beforehand, consciously or subconsciously.
Sure. I was also curious too. I know you guys worked with Jacob Hansen on this record, who I'm a fan of doing the some Volbeat work. I'm curious, what do you think he added to the project? It seems like he really added a sonic punch, if you will, to the material.
He did, yeah, for sure. I mean, I must say that both Jorn Viggo and I had a pretty clear idea of what we wanted. But it's so cool to work with somebody who has a whole set of fresh ears and who's objective. That is something that he added, which might be an obvious, but that still doesn't mean that it's going to work, because he needs to understand what we mean, and we need to be able to accept things that he does that we might not have thought of at first, especially with us having had a demo for 10 years to get used to. Even if there are mistakes on it, even if it sounds crappy, you'll be surprised how used you get to a certain sound, and how hard it is sometimes to let certain things go. So even in recording, of course, we already went through part of this project process, and then there was also the diversity of these tracks, where every song really needed its individual approach, and he really got that too. So there was pre-communication, of course, beforehand, and then he really went for it. And then Jorn Viggo actually joined him in the studio as they went through everything. So I didn't feel like there was another captain needed on that ship, but of course I followed the process daily with updates online, and that altogether came out just great. He could add ideas that we didn't think of, effects on the voice here and there, or push this a bit, lessen that a bit, something we may not have thought of ourselves, that really worked out really well. And so that's what he brought.
Oh, that's great. Well, I was wondering what your thoughts on this were too. I mentioned before that anyone who hears this record won't be terribly disappointed from knowing any of your past material. But my question is, heavy music fans. I mean, a lot of times we
Mm-hmm.
get pigeonholed into, being a stereotype and really not being quite that open-minded. But
Mm-hmm.
in my view, in my, dealings with musicians and different people, it seems like we really are very much open-minded. What's been your take on that?
Yeah, you're right. I was afraid would be a very big word, but I wasn't so sure if people were going to be indeed open-minded enough to say, "Oh yeah, the singer of Nightwish now wants to do rock." Cool. I was afraid people would be disappointed that there's no opera and it has a total different vibe. I don't look like a cute girl on the cover, quite on the contrary. There are, of course, always the expectations, the stereotypes, and there will be enough people that like that so much that it's hard to get away from that, which is fine too. It really is. You don't have to be open-minded and diverse if there's something that you just really like. You want to hear that all the time. That's good too. But it's fantastic to see that a lot of people actually are open to it, and we're like, yeah, whatever she's done in the past or Jorn Viggo's done in the past, this is good, cool too. And yes, it does not sound like any of their previous or other bands, but it's good music, so I appreciate it, and I like what she's doing with her voice, or I love what he's doing with his guitar. Yeah, then it's the music doing the talking and not the box where we were in. That it always has to be conform a certain format.
Sure. It seems like over the last maybe 10 years or so, there's been a real resurgence in, female-fronted music, whether it be the heavier stuff like you and Alyssa from Arch Enemy, or even on the lighter side, maybe Lizzie Hale of Hailstorm.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think there has been that resurgence, or has it been there all along, and maybe people are just really waking up to that right now?
I think it has been there before, and then it kind of went into a slumber to revive stronger than ever. I also think that maybe now people, for some reason, started to feel that it's more important to put the stamp female-fronted or female whatever on it, which I actually don't understand, because is then all the other music male-fronted?
Mm.
Is that because Lizzie Hale sings rock and Alyssa growls in a super heavy, Swedish metal band. I sing in a completely different Finnish band, and somehow, just because we don't have a penis, we get lined in the same sentence. Would that happen if it was male-fronted music we're talking about? I don't mean this as a personal attack towards you. It's just a general question I ask myself. Is it being put more into attention because we emphasize the female fact? And is that really necessary when we talk about music? Because in the end of the day, I think all of these ladies and a lot of men are great musicians that make rock music or this kind of music, and we can box it. We can put it in whatever box we want, that it's female-fronted or it's rock music or it's whatever. Fact of the matter remains, there are a lot of great female artists out there that deserve every bit of attention because they're good musicians.
No, that's a great perspective. Yeah, definitely. Well, I can't let you go, Floor, without mentioning. I had the chance to see Nightwish in I believe it was April in Philadelphia, and one of the things I really noticed about all of you on stage was just how happy. I don't think that's something you can hide. Yes, I was going to say that seems like a very tough thing to fake. So I'm thinking this must be the real deal. They really are enjoying themselves at the moment. Is that pretty much the case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as much as you might know from Finns, they're not fakers. So for sure on their end, you know that it's real.
Right.
I don't have a poker face at all. I have a very, very expressional face, and I have no control over that. So if I'm not happy, you'll know. But if I'm happy, you can tell, and there's no way of faking it. So, and then we have Troy. I have known this guy for 6 years. I have seen him grumpy once, but that was because of the hangover of the century. So, no, we don't have to fake it because we actually really, really enjoy what we do, and we have a genuine good time with each other. Yeah, we're a happy bunch, really, and we've all seen the other side of things. We've all seen that our band's going bad, and we all know what it's like to keep it together. In that sense, it's like a marriage, but with grown-up people that manage to find a balance in how to be ourselves and how to compromise without losing ourselves, and all the cliches of a good marriage. But it's really true. And the most important factor, we love making our music.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that really shows, and I noticed that right away, which is very cool after all these years.
Good, because we hope, we feel it, and then we want to transmit that feeling into the audience, because playing your songs well is one thing, but bringing it with passion and love is the same 50%, I think, that makes a concert worth a while.
Yeah, that's the truth for sure. Well, hey, there you go, everybody. Couple minutes chatting with Floor Jansen. The new record, it's called Northward. It is out October 19th on Nuclear Blast. And Floor, I can't thank you enough. Very cool talking with you.
Well, likewise, it was great. Thank you for talking with me, and thank you all for listening. I hope you will enjoy this rock album that will be out very soon. And Nightwish will be back in 2020, so I hope to see you all there as well.